What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Madhouse. And I hope you had a great weekend. I know I did, but starting our Monday off right, we're jumping into the meta dive. We're going to look at all the exciting things that happened this weekend, take a look at some of the events. We're going to look, is Blue Steel still the king of the ring? Is it still worth running an $800 deck if you want to have the best chance at winning the whole enchilada? I don't know. We're about to find out. We're about to find out because we're going to jump right into it. I'm going to get my mug out of the way and let's jump into it. Just kidding. We have Disney trivia. Ladies and gentlemen, what does Jafar disguise himself as to recruit Aladdin into retrieving the magic lamp from the Cave of Wonders? What does he disguise himself as? Let me know in the comments. At the end, I will tell you the answer. But as always, if you want a chance for your piece of Disney trivia to be featured in the next video, put it in the comments and we'll get it out there. Now, let us jump into the meta. Again, this is all brought to you by Inkdex, okay? Inkdex, you can go and submit your own stuff now. They'll approve it if it's good. You can report your own event no matter what size it is and throw that in there. And all of that is going to help us get these numbers so we can have some sort of meta. So looking at this is from the last 7 days of just decks, and I put up here just Diggy Diggy Hole at 5 is the lowest. There's a bunch of them with like 4, 3, 2, 1. I only have so much room, okay? I will tell you, Ruby Fawcett, there was only one, okay? Of everything that was reported, this is not all the decks in the game. This is just what was reported to Inkdex, and this is what we've got right now. Right now, the decks that have been played the most, we got 45 Blue Steel items, 43 Popsicle Red Blue, and you'll see that it does get a little weird, right? They have red blue items and Popsicle, maybe more of an item build, and then we have items versus Oswald items, and I'd assume the Oswald items is more of a heavy kind of combo style, right, with Jeremy. And we got purple steel though, 34 for purple steel, which is crazy. Red purple still at 8. We see green purple discard, and we're actually going to talk about that in this video, kind of coming out of nowhere and trying to do some really good things. SteelSong and Diggy Diggy Hole still here, but let's look at a couple more things that are a little bit more accurate. This is as accurate as it's going to get, but we do have some other info, and this is a really big one. The CCS 13K was this past weekend, and they had just over 300 people, I think. And so this is a look at all of the decks that they had at the CCS 13K, and as you can see, Blue Steel, this is Kiwi right here. So they said that this Blue Steel, this meta share right here, 18.1% is Kiwi, and then 14.9% is item builds. So we've got 18, 28, over 30% at the CCS 13K was represented by Blue Steel. That is wild. And then we've got 11% representing purple steel. We've got 9% representing green steel. And then we have the ruby sapphire control, the red blue control representing 8%, the amber emerald. So that would be your Chernadog ramp, right? Where you're trying to play that tramp, you're trying to ramp into a Chernabog's follow, not a followers, just the Chernabogs. That's 7.3%. We've got Ruby Sapphire Burn, so that being the DKP variant, and then we've got Amber SteelSong. So this is gonna be like your traditional SteelSong at 5.7. We haven't seen SteelSong numbers that low in quite a few metas, so people just really not feeling it. I'm here to tell you, you're wrong. All right, ladies and gentlemen, SteelSong is here to stay, okay? We do have mines of 5.1% on mines. That is really impressive numbers. And that's one thing I will say is normally these two numbers are combined. So this would be about 10.8%, putting it above Emerald Steel still. We still have some Ruby Steel, so some of your Mushu burn stuff going on, the Challenger things with 4.8. We have Amethyst Sapphire, so Blurple at 2.9, and then Other at 6%. So really big shout out to, I'd assume 20 Lore put this together, or somebody working with 20 Lore put this together. This is the most accurate representation of what the big majority of the Lorcana community is playing right now. Just over 30% of blue steel, but that might change, and we're about to find out why, because we have some top eights. This slide right here is top eights of what happened this weekend at four different events. We had the Safari Zone 3K that we'll talk about, the CCS 13K, the multivitamin event, and the Conflux. And I believe this was a 45 person. This was a 70 plus person. The Safari Zone was 65, and CCS, of course, being just over 300. And if we look at this, we have a lot of top eights. Blue Steel does represent a good portion of it. Of these 8, 16, 32 decks, we've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 13 of them being blue steel. So blue steel is doing really well at getting to top cut. The deck is really strong. And when you play all these nasty combo pieces, when you play 4/4s for free that search for items, and you get to play lucky dimes for free, like you have lots of dig and search and draw, the deck is really good. No doubt about it, okay? But not a lot of first place finishes for Blue Steel this weekend, and we will talk about that, okay? We did, at Sapphire Zone, we did have one Amber Steel in Top Cut. That was a Diggy Diggy Hole variant. Lots of red blue. Red blue kind of owned the CCS event with 4 red blues being in Top Cut, but we did have one purple steel and one purple red, that amethyst ruby. And then over here we have 2 amethyst rubies making top cut at multivitamin, and then red blue and blue steel, and then conflux, another red purple. So once again, all those red purple players, our deck is dead, we can't do anything. Meanwhile, 3 of the 4 events that I'm showing here have red purple taking the top cut. One of them has red purple winning the event overall. Like, red purple, ladies and gentlemen, is here to stay, okay? When you combine red with the crazy things that purple can do, it makes for a stellar combination. And we're going to look at a couple of those lists because there are some different ones. And then of course, green purple taking 2 of the top 8 positions. So let's get into it. Let's look at some lists. All right, take a picture, keep it forever. Let's move on. The first one we're going to talk about is the Safari Zone Collectibles 1K. And this was a 1K. It started off as a 1K, but it quickly became a 3-day that we announced the day of. This is my home store, my parents' store. This is something that I pushed the owner to do, and she came through. She did it, and she loved it. She had a great time. She did not expect such a competitive scene for Lorcana, and we proved her wrong, and it was awesome because immediately after the event was done, she sent me a message and she's like, hey, here's the details for the 5K. So Safari Zone is going to have a 5K. We'll talk about it at the very end of the video, so stick around for that. If you are in the Northeast area, you got to come. All right, you've got to come. It was great. Everybody had a great time. And a 5K, again, Angel loves to support people, okay? So what started as a 1K became a 3K. If we hit the cap, a 5K may become bigger, okay? So definitely don't want to miss it, okay? But let's talk about the list. Just kidding. We do have pictures. We'll talk about some of these pictures really quick because it was my store, right? This was our first big event. This is the first big event for a lot of our locals that have never been to a DLC, and it was just awesome. Over here on the left is my wife, my beautiful Molly, and my cosplay Lilo and Stitch there. I signed a card. Shout out to Andy from the Glimmineers, asked me to sign his mat that a lot of these, stellar content creators and star players are signing. So that was super surreal. I figured out my signature. All right, so that was pretty cool. It's not quite perfected here, but I think it's what I'm gonna do. So shout out to Ko, who kind of was one of the first people to ask me to sign a card, and I had to start figuring it out. And Andy for being the first in person to ask me to sign a card. We got some goons here with my eyes shut in this photo, so shout out to whoever took that and didn't take another. We've got just a couple of my locals here that had a really good time. They were about to head off to get dinner. Unfortunately, I could not join because we were getting into Top Cut. And then, of course, our stellar Top Cut here with 3 locals. We got Larry, Jeff, and Rick. And then we do have Sizu here, Justin, a couple Glimmineers, Mitch, and Jitanya. That's probably not right, but that is the Glimmineers head member, Demetrius's wife, and I believe Illumination here is that team right there. And then we just have a couple photos. We got a picture with the Glimmineers and everything. It was an awesome event. But let's talk lists. I know that's what you guys are here for, so let's get into it. First up, our top cut did split. All right, we started at about noon 30 due to some technical difficulties. Melee went down, so we had to print out all of the pairings. But we started at noon 30. We finished top cut finally left at like 10:30 after they got to top four, and top four decided to split. It'd been a long day, and this was one of our gentlemen from locals, Rick, running red blue, and he just straight up admitted it. He's like, hey, I like Sailor's List, I'm going to run it. And it did him a lot of good. I believe he had one loss in the day, and he just liked it. He was on stream once. He was the only top 8 player to be on stream, and the deck just did good things. And when you get the draw engine going, you just saw how effective this deck can be, because once you get that draw engine going, if you have a Sapphire Coil down, these ice blocks down, all of these Sizus, these Medusas, the Maleficent Dragons, they just clear everything. And there's just nothing your opponent can do because they can never get anything to stick. And then if you get high enough and you go long enough, you get these Vitalospheres down, your Scrooge McDucks can clear things, you clear something with Maleficent Dragon, then you Vitalosphere, so Maleficent Dragon now has Rush and can challenge into something. The Great Stone Dragons just helping with the long game against the other red-blue decks. The deck was it just did really nasty things. And then Cusco, of course, we saw it hit a couple dimes. It can hit locations like the Manors. Just a really effective card. And we even saw his little secret ability down here come into play when he gave his Scrooge McDuck a bunch of resist to take out another Scrooge McDuck. And then the opponent, Scrooge got that resist until the next turn, so they still couldn't do anything about him. And so we just saw the deck come together, come alive, and do some really nasty things that no one likes to see red blue do. So congratulations, Rick. Really good showing. Next up, we do have that's not right. It should be Mitchell. It's Mitchell, I believe. So Mitchell taking top 4 with the Glimmineers and his version of Purple Steel. And we saw this on the live stream. So if you wanted to see this in action against Diggy Diggy Hole, it'll be there. And it was really cool. We're talking about it, and he just kept surprising us on stream. We didn't expect the Queen to come. We didn't expect I Find My Platinum. We didn't expect to see the 3 Fire the Cannons. It was just full of surprises, and it worked out really well. Unfortunately, he did lose on stream, but that was his only loss of the day, and to one of his teammates. And the deck just did good. We saw the Queen come into play. If you can't answer that 3 lore is just so good, right? That 3 lore that she can get, or the 4 lore if you're playing against, SteelSong, for example. So that burn there, and then you have burn with the giant cobras. And I just noticed there's no goats in this list. No goats or roses. So opts to just completely cut them. So make room for these binges. So really trying to optimize the game into blue steel. You see the binges, you see the I Find My Platinums, which will probably catch people by surprise in a closed deck list type event. And so, yeah, this is just kind of really set up to really punish blue steel. And it worked. He had one loss the entire day and then made top 4. So congratulations, man. Way to run something that people just didn't expect. I know my buddy that played against you, he did not expect it, and you took the win from him. Yeah, love to see it. The only purple steel to make it. Next up, we do have Sizu. He is from Freedom Gaming. His real name is John, and he is running his version of green steel. And his version of green steel is a little bit different, right? Because we are on the 4 morphs. We see this kind of coming back, right? The 4 morphs, the 4 beasts, the Tinkerbells. And for him, he just really, first off, really likes the Big Pete. And I've said it before, the Shift Pete is just a terrifying card. Getting this out on turn 4, having resist +1, questing for 2, able to sing Bruno, just a lot of nasty things, right? So that is just a really scary card, and there's no way to stop it. If they go Pete on 3, they're guaranteed the shift Pete on 4, and that is really good. Meanwhile, we still have the discard package. We have the Prince Johns, we have the sudden chills and the hypnotizes. We even have the Lucifers, which we did see Lucifer come into play and be just really annoying and nasty. We have cut the muses, and personally, I'm a huge fan of that. I've heard talk that if you cut all of the muses, you're at risk of losing to aggro. But at the same time, like you still have Ursula. Aggro doesn't answer Ursula very well. You still have the Smee. You still have Morph getting Tinkerbell down on turn 4 and then controlling the board after that. You still have all these songs. I just don't think Muses is needed right now. Muses cannot hit enough things to, in my opinion, make her warranted in the Green Steel deck anymore. Maybe you can run 2 because it's a warded character. It can sing stuff. It does guarantee opportunity. You can bounce Lucifers. If you run Doc, you can bounce Doc. But I'm just not a fan of Muses in the list right now. Not when Blue Steel is as popular as it is. Not when Red Blue is as popular as it is. But there is a world with green blue being so popular. Maybe you do run some of those things that can, like, maybe run some Lucifers and then bounce the Lucifers back to hand to banish stuff. We'll see how things develop as Red Blue kind of sees and shows that we can beat Blue Steel. But I really like this list. I like the tempo variant. There's a lot of faith in Morph, right? But the odds of you getting to your turn 5 and being able to play the Beast, or turn 6 and playing the Tinkerbell, are also pretty good, right? The Diablo Morph, it's just one lane that you can play, one line that you can go. You can still just go Diablo, Smee, Prince John, into an Ursula, like things like that. And I like the list. I think it did really well. I think Suzu had one loss in the entire day as well. So, yeah, good job, man. I think it was oh, wait. I think it was against the Purple Steel player in Swiss. I could be wrong though. Moving on, moving on. We do have another green steel. This is one of our locals, Jeff, and he took it back. He took it back to set 6. He said, I do not need any set 7 cards. I do not care about the Shift Pete. And I got to admit, one of the things about Shift Pete is it's really good against the songs, but if you can control their board enough that maybe they just don't ever draw enough songs for it to matter. And then if you know you're not going into a meta with a lot of SteelSong, then you don't need to worry about that either. And I wasn't playing. I'm one of our very, very, very few SteelSong players, probably the only one that plays it regularly. So there was that, and we just know SteelSong's not popular right now and across the meta. So Shift Pete just not as appealing. Meanwhile, we're still running the 4 morphs with the Beast and Tinkerbell combo. So people really on top of that and really liking that. We do see the Crickies coming in, just letting anything trade, which is really good. And questing for 3, it's really strong as well, right? So we have cut the hypnotize. If we look at Sizu, he's on the 1 hypnotize. Here, no hypnotizes at all, but we opt to run 2 Zeuses instead, help clear those baby Tamatoas and things like that. Something that people might not expect you to have, the first time you play it. And then the rest of it's just pretty normal. We do opt to throw in the 2 Calhouns because Calhoun is just annoying. When your opponent plays their Calhouns or their Bells and stuff, Calhoun can just be something to make them play bad. They can sit there and they're like, oh, I better not quest or sing because I don't want to deal with Calhoun. Maybe it pulls a song, something, it pulls the Strength of a Raging Fire or whatever else it may be. And I like that. I love Calhoun in this list in Green Steel. I was really a big fan of, seeing Calhouns come into it because the deck is often the weakest in the very, very early game, especially if it doesn't get, that wombo combo start that it wants to get. So, yeah, I love it. Good job, Jeff, making top 4. The rest of them are going to be our top 8 players. And we do have Diggy Diggy Hole. And this is the Glimmineers, right? This is the young lady behind all of it that makes it all happen. This is Demetrius's wife, and I believe it's Jatanya. But I liked this. I was never a huge fan of Diggy Diggy Hole, but when we saw it play, I really loved some of her tech options in here. This Jafar gives me a lot of ideas for my aggro list. The fact that he can still quest for 2, but that Challenger plus 2 is just really exciting. Calhoun becoming a 5-2, even your Daisy becoming a 3-4, still having that 4 but still being a great Rapunzel target. Those are really exciting things, and that really gives me a lot of just good ideas that I want to explore. We see the 2 Bagheeras. I've talked about Bagheera before. It's I don't know. With so many 3 health characters, Bagheera only doing 2 damage isn't as appealing. That being said, they do have to trade into the Bagheera. They do have to Zeus the Bagheera or Strength the Bagheera, and then all their stuff takes 2 damage. And at that point, if their characters are trading into yours, they probably get banished. So Bagheera is just kind of doing that thing where almost resetting the board, because if they do blow up Bagheera, and Bagheera does 2 damage to their entire board, and then the Bell has to trade into the Piglet, and the Bell has to trade into the Dock. Like they lose their board as well. So you can kind of reset things. Is it as good as Kita? I don't think so. But the one thing that's nice about Bagheera over Kita is if you're playing against red, then if you Kita, the big Sisu just clears your whole board, whereas Bagheera doesn't run that problem, right? We do see the 2 Chinpos come in. So Chinpo, she said that he was just a powerhouse. Him and Jafar really just continued to do a lot of hard work the entire day and helping just stop the enemy from being able to do anything. Blue Steel only has so many songs. They depend on those characters to clear their board. So if you get all these characters down and then you get a Chinpo down, there's not a lot they can do at this point. There's just not. So between those 2 bodyguards right there, 4 cards in total, your opponent's going to have a hard time. Blue Steel is going to have a hard time getting through that to be able to hit all of these characters that are questing for a lot. Something to note is Bagheera does quest for 2 also. So when we look at this, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 characters here that are questing for 2. 9 if you include Calhoun challenging and gaining 2 that way. And of course, the mine package with the 7 dwarves, the Doc and the Happy. So I really liked the list. It was fun to see on stream. She did, like I said, beat her teammate Mitchell, his only loss in Swiss. So check that out as well, and I'll include the link to that in the description. Next up, we do have Samantha taking top 8, and she has, I put the wrong SME in here. This is not the correct SME. I will try and fix that in editing. This is, yeah, it should be the other 2-drop SME. I can't imagine she was running this one. I could be wrong. If it's not fixed in editing, she was running this one, okay? But she is just running the Kiwi version, running the Annas. So shout out to Ali Sweet, right? She is the fan. She's a fan of the Annas in the Kiwi version. So with that being said, this list, it's just Kiwi. It does run the Mickey Mouse package, this sticky Mickey, and just guaranteeing just something to be annoying. We kind of talked about that in a recent, myself, and I believe it was Angelica in the recent LCCC match, where we talked about, do you run Sticky Mickey? Do you prefer Mulan? In this case, preferring Sticky Mickey, something to just, well, stick around, right? And then, of course, the Doc package we have Smee, we have Alice, the Bell package, because why not? It's just so good. And then with the Bell package, why not run the Hiram Flaversham? You have 8 items to choose from, drawing you 2 cards, helping you grind through things. And then the Manners, and we saw Manners do a lot of work this weekend. Blue Steel they get their 1-drop down, they go to their 2-drop, they go to their 3-drop, and then they just drop a Manor. And they're like, control my board. Oh, by the way, also deal with my Manor. And the Manor just put in work consistently. I was really impressed with it. It's just hard to deal with a 9 health location. That's just tough. But looking at the rest of it, we do see the Plutos, the Cogsworth, and the Baymaxes, which was a big surprise during the live stream of seeing a Baymax. I don't know if we ever saw it get played, but this deck, it does suffer with getting reach, okay? So that Baymax just offering up an opportunity to gain that reach. And your opponent, maybe they play a Tamatoa, you challenge into it with Pluto, take 4 damage, then you play Baymax to heal 2 of it and gain 2 lore. And meanwhile, you have a 2/6/2 on the board. So there's a lot of opportunities with Baymax to fill that role that this deck normally misses out on by gaining that reach. So I like it. And good job, Samantha. Did really well making top 8. And next up on our list, we do have William on Blue Steel again, another Kiwi version. I just selected all the wrong SMEs. This is 100% the other SME right here. But in his version, opting to run the Mulan over the Sticky Mickey. But when you look at the list, it's very similar. We see the 2 binges, the Belle and Alice, the 8 items with the Flavershams, 1 Baymax versus 2, and then 4 Cogsworth versus 3, and we do see the 1 Tamatoa. So the 1 Tamatoa replacing the 1 Doc. And meanwhile, we run Mulans over the Sticky Mickey package. So very similar lists, very, very, very similar lists, and both doing great things, going all the way up to top 8. So congratulations, guys. Not quite able to make it, but hey, you made it a lot further than a lot of others. Next up on our list, we do have Larry, and he is one of our locals, one of our newer locals. Hasn't been around super long, but really great guy. And I was really surprised to see him on Blue Steel, but he opted to run more of that Jeremy package with the Blue Steel items version. But he does have some spice in here, and the spice put in some work. He was also on stream. He was on stream twice, once in top 8 where he did lose to Red Blue, but once also in Swiss where he did pull out the win, and a lot of it because of that Tinkerbell. The Tinkerbell came down, and it was just kind of like, what do I do now? How do I respond to this? Hades came down to remove something. So just those 2 spice right there actually did a lot of work. And the rest of it just kind of doing the items thing, trying to get through your deck, trying to really draw as many cards as you can, get that high ink, and then kind of just get those wombo combo turns where you get a Tamatoa down, you play a Scrooge for free to search for a lucky dime, you quest to play it for free, then you play a Tamatoa while you have, 8 items on board, and you quest for 9, and then you lucky dime for 9 more, and essentially end the game. And it can just get really nutty, really fast. And the deck did well. He made top 8. Again, I've not seen him play Blue Steel much. So I'm gonna have to ask, if you just kind of picked it up and said, I'm running it. I'm gonna see how it goes. And if you did, kudos, congratulations. But good job, Larry. Happy to see you were able to do so well at the first ever Delaware 1K that turned into a 3K. Next up on our list, we have the CCS. And you'll see these big, bright yellow letters because the CCS went from an 8K to a 10K to a 12K, and they finished as a 13K event. So huge shout out to them pulling in so many players and then pulling in all those players and saying, hey, this event is for the people. Let's see what we can give them. I'm not going to go through all of top 8. I'm really not. Top 8 wasn't super, in my opinion, was not super exciting. It was a lot of red blue. It was a lot of blue steel. We've talked about all of it a whole lot. There was a couple things here or there that was a spicy, but it just, no, I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to save us some time, but I did pull some exciting lists from top 8 that wasn't blue steel or red blue. I'm of course going to talk about our first place winner. And then we do have some other spicy lists from this weekend that we will talk about as well. So stick around for those. But first up, we have to talk about Hector from Southside Gaming taking first place. So congratulations, Hector, being the team captain as well for this sponsored Southside Gaming team. And congratulations. Good job. It's red blue. It's red blue doing red blue things. Nothing super spicy about it. We still see the half sharks in the pirate's life. We see the sapphire coils because Medusa and the Sizus. We see B preps. It's just a very normal, non-spicy red blue list. Red blue being able to stick to what they continue to do well, what they've continued to do well for a really long time. When you can do things and play these really overpowered cards, you're just going to be able to do well if you can pilot it correctly. And red blue continues to get these really great cards every set. They continue to be able to control the board extremely well. They get more ability to play into their overpowered Hiram Flaversham to draw thanks to the Tamatoa. Maui Halfshark can come down helping answer Purple Steel with the Pirate's Life and other aggro decks, and you just start spamming that, or you start spamming hideaways. Just red blue control, doing red blue control has done for the longest time. And those like Hector that have played red blue for the longest time are going to be able to see and continually see success as red blue continues to see these really great cards. Red blue, their biggest challenge with their deck is which overpowered card do I cut to make room for the other overpowered cards. So one thing to note from this though is as we see decks like this succeed, that's what makes room for the DKP version, that red blue burn, to really come back and jam everything up again. So we're going to see this wheel of meta kind of really start turning because red blue showed that they can beat blue steel. They have the tools to do it and they're able to do it really well, and they did it at the CCS. So people are going to say, I can run red blue and I feel comfortable with it. So red blue will continue to rise. And then as red blue rises, the DKP version burn rises. But as that version rises, blue steel and SteelSong will start to rise as well because they do really well into the DKP burn version. So it's just a really interesting thing of how this wheel will continue to develop as we have these big events. And we'll see the next big one being the world-class cards, world-class games, their double 5K they're doing this weekend, a 5K on Saturday and one on Sunday. So we'll see how things develop. Maybe does it change fast enough next weekend? Most likely what we'll have to wait for though is 2 weekends from now. We'll really see how things have changed. But yeah, the wheel's turning, guys. The wheel is turning. Next up on our list, we do have Cody playing and making top 8 with Purple Steel. And one thing I did want to highlight here, playing for 1 month. He posted on Twitter that he has been playing Lorcana for 1 month. He came from what looked like a good career in Magic the Gathering. I don't know what any of those titles mean, so I couldn't tell you if it was really great, but it looked cool. Like there were some things there, so I'd imagine he's a good Magic the Gathering player, taking some Purple Steel through and just doing what the deck wants to do. We see these 2 lines going, and you're just doing what Purple Steel, like I said, what it wants to do. You run the dock variant, and when you run the dock variant, you're just trying to bleh your hand onto the floor, throw it on the table, and then burn your opponent down. You have the giant cobras to gain you 2 lore, the white roses for 1, the genies just being really annoying. Blue steel not able to answer them really well, so probably questing for 2. The goats gaining you, essentially guaranteeing 2 lore, probably 3. And the foxes, of course, the foxes and the snakes just helping you bounce that giant cobra, that goat, the rose, even the peat, right? Because you get that peat bounce going and you can just win games that way. So the deck just being extremely consistent. And I look towards JDRR for this. And he loves to run purple steel he loves to run purple in these 2 line options because I just want to see the good cards, right? I don't necessarily need the tech options. JD probably opting to cut the 2 binges and just go like a 4th white rose and a 4th even Calhoun just to say, I want to see the good cards. I don't really need the tech options if I just win. If I can just slam down these 1 drops, if I can just go into a Smee or a 3 drop into, emptying my hand to play a dock, and then I start bouncing the docks and replaying the docks while building my board, it just gets really nasty, really fast. And so just a sexy, consistent burn list that does really well, optimizing to use cards that all feed into other parts of the engine really well. Really good job, Cody. Really nice name. All right, if I do say so myself. Next up on our list, we do have lamb chops down here where my face is at. That is a lucky dime, and I had to feature this one. I know I wasn't gonna feature a lot of blue steel, but this is not a blue steel that we've looked at in a while. Lamb chops opting to come in with a more traditional, if you can say that at all about lamb chops and his blue steel list. But he's just got a little bit of everything when you look at this. He's got the two Jim Hawkins that answer bells and smees and Calhouns really well, getting that +2 challenger every time you ink a card. So if turn 3 you do ink and you play a Tipo, you ink twice, he becomes a 4/4. Being able to answer the smee and live the bell, the like all those 3/3 characters. We do, of course, see the bell come down on turn 1 because that's an extremely powerful combo. And then we see two of these bells. Of course, when you have 10 or more cards in your inkwell, this character gets +4 lore. And during your turn, you may put an additional card from your hand into your inkwell face down. So, really effective thing there, just trying to get a lot of that ramping going. The Flavershams, of course, letting you draw cards, Cogsworth, resist. The aerial dime combo that is just so good. We saw him win a game with that, and it's hard to deal with. A 3/4 ward is extremely difficult. It's untouchable by Big Sizu. You have to B-prep the board. And we did see a lot of red blue cut B prep for this weekend because they said Big Sizu can answer the board. I'll be fine. So maybe it is an opportunity when we see Hector. Maybe it's just an opportunity to really bring back the aerial dime combos and things like that. But we do see the Biancas being a great card to be able to sing wheel. Just a really good card for these blue steel wheel decks. The Tinkerbells and Hades, the Arthur coming in, helping you just clear anything because giving that challenger and resistance and can challenge readied characters this turn. So Arthur being able to ignore wards. So if you ran into Ariels, if you ran into Muses or Prince Johns, you throw Arthur down on almost anything. You could throw Arthur down on Cogsworth and he becomes a 4/5 with resist 2. Throw it down on Tinkerbell though is best case scenario because then as you're challenging things, you then go ahead and deal 2 damage to something else, banishing them, of course. But we see the Tamatoa, so just a lot of different options in here to be able to pull wins out, to be able to answer anything your opponent tries to do. Visions to search for more, but Hades and Let It Go helping you answer anything they want to play. And Lamb just doing really good, making top 8. Unfortunately, getting that one loss in top 8, but just a really stellar job. I'm excited to see how the list continues to develop. Next up on our list, though, we do have Zeke, and he made top 8. He did want to shout out Curled Paw Creatives, who made those tiny tokens. And I believe this is Terrace Black's list. And looking at it, I think it's an update of Terrace Black's list, pulling the motivation from that Terrace list that he ran at the Southside Games event. So taking and showing that red purple is still a powerhouse. Red purple is still something that you cannot ignore. I don't know how you guys, with that, it's interesting, right? While this character has damage, she gets +3. So that does give you the option. You could throw this down on 2, crab her on 3 to be able to answer anything on your opponent's board. And then she's damaged. So now she becomes a 4/4 on her own. So your opponent has to deal with this character that is just annoying because if you don't answer it, she'll answer you. And that Queen of Hearts with Crab is just a really, really nasty combo piece and really good. I really like that card. Looking at the rest of the list, we do still see Sizu because she quests for 2, but she oftentimes just has a lot of attack. If your opponent's playing Flavershams and they see the combo, she's going to be sitting really pretty. Oftentimes being a 3/4 at least and being able to answer the bells, the smees, the Calhouns, and all of that, and still live to tell her own little story about it. We do see only 2 rabbits. When you're not running, a lot of bounce, you're only running the 4 rabbits, the 2 snakes, or sorry, 4 foxes and 2 snakes. We do see the 2 rabbits come in with the 2 genies. So that opting to be enough draw package because you are still running 4 libraries. You're running all the draw right here in your cantrips. Maui just being an awesome card into a character-based meta. Dragonfire helping you answer anything when you cannot find your B preps. And then just the locations, being able to, draw into these locations, throw them down. It's a lot like Wochuk's version of SteelSong, right? His no shift version, why he runs the Neverlands. So Red Purple, maybe pulling some success from that and seeing, hey, it's working so well for them. Why don't we double down and see if we can just add more locations to it and see if we can kind of do the same thing? And that's what they're doing. They're playing these locations, they're playing these characters, and when doing so, your opponent has to decide, am I taking time to answer the location or do I take time to answer the character? And that is a win for you. That is what you want to happen, because now, even if they B prep your whole board, or you don't even feel bad to B prep, like I may lose 3 characters, but at least I protect my 3 locations that might be down, or even my 2 locations that might be down. So really big shout out. Really interesting seeing those tokens. Personally, not a fan. Not a fan of just ink tokens in general. That's a me thing. I know it's a very hot topic in Lorcana, as whether they're good, whether they're not. It's just too much on the board, in my opinion. But to each their own. If they're allowed, do your thing. It's cute, it's cool, it's fun. Curled Paw Creatives making those ones in particular. So hey, good job, man, taking top 8 to, well, top 8. So moving on, look at this stuff. Isn't it neat? All right, shout out to the original Little Mermaid. Both great, but Little Original being so much better, in my opinion. But with that, we have some different lists. We have some different competitions and some different events where we get to see some really cool lists that did make top. And first up on our list, we do have this red purple, and that is a name, and Asiate, which is definitely not how you pronounce it, but taking red purple to first place in a 45 player event. And this one, very different than the other one. We do not see any bounce though. So, Ed recently published an article that said maybe it's time for bounce to go. And whether they got their inspiration from Ed or they just were already running it, but opting to no bounce and just play characters down. Lots of draw with these first, 8, 16 cards, lots of draw there. We have another rabbit. We have another draw with the library, some more engine, and then friends on the other side with even more engine. 3 genies, again, difficult for Blue Steel to answer. We have the 4 ladies, still opting to run those even with no bounce because they're still just so good. You B prep your opponent's board, and then next turn you respond with a Lady Tremaine to clear literally anything they play. Hoping they only play 1 character, right? Maybe they play a Tamatoa and think they're safe. You drop a Lady Tremaine, you clear that Tamatoa, and now you have a character that quests for 2 and can potentially shift on herself if you have the other one. So red purple, that's just it. Red purple just, they always have a way to develop into the new meta, and we're seeing it happen. We're slowly seeing more and more red purple kind of come through the cracks. We saw Domingo beat Sailor this weekend in the LCCC. Shout out to them for doing that. And Pavel, shout out to Garrick for covering for me. I was going to live stream that match and cast it, but unfortunately some deployment training came up, so I couldn't make it. So shout out to that OG for covering for me. Really appreciate you, man. But yeah, red purple coming in and just showing that they're never truly dead. Jund is always around. Jund will always be a menace to society, and we'll always be seeing these ladies. But moving on, we have Dinu. Maybe that's how you pronounce it. He is at a 74-person event. I'm assuming Team BP. There was this gentleman and another one on this, what may have been the same list. I'm not sure. It was definitely a green-purple list, also with BP in front of their name. When I first looked at this list, I was skeptical. I'll admit, I was very skeptical because I look at this list and I was like, how does this thing win? And I think it wins the same way that green purple has always won, of just tempoing. Like they just want to play character after character after character. You make some smart trades with Fox and Crab. This time opting to run Diablo. If they blow it up, they blow it up. If they banish your Diablo, okay, they banish your Diablo. But most likely you'll draw one, or you will draw 1 card if you did shift it. So that's something. Or you could shift it, sing friends, and draw 2 cards, which is really good. I mean, lots of different options. So it's not the end of the world. And of course, you have the Prince John to feed the engine even more. So you don't have to run something like rabbits. You can run 4 genies, which questing for 2. I love the Iago. I really do. I think Iago, sure, it can be answered by a lot, right? It can be answered by an improvised chosen character gets -1 this turn, and that banishes the Iago. But they have to use a song on it. They have to use an action on it. Meanwhile, he's a 4/6 evasive that can challenge the other genie. It can challenge all these 3/3s that your opponent in blue steel is playing. He's just difficult to handle if you're not a song or action deck. Meanwhile, we still have the Crickies for some great turns, the improvise drawing you a card, maybe giving you the opportunity to get some good trades in there as well. And then the discard package to go along with the Prince John, and also the Bruno to go along with the Prince John, and a good way to clear something that your opponent may have on the board. So this list at first, I was very skeptical, but the more I look at it, it's kind of exciting. It really is. It's not a list that I'm threatened by as a SteelSong player by any means, but I do find it very exciting, and there's a lot of opportunity here. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot of this popping up. I'm curious on how they feel about this into red blue. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited though. I'm excited to see how this list continues to develop. We're seeing some interesting green purple things come. We saw Tavers Town, I believe. I think I'm saying that right. He ran green purple this past weekend at the CCS and the day 2 event. And we saw Braden at the Safari Zone Collectibles 1K turn 3K run green purple as well. And they all did reasonably well with it, barely missing top cut both of those players. And at this event, 2 green purples making top 8, one of them winning it. So, yeah, I'm interested to see how this develops. Definitely keep an eye out. Give this a shot. I think you would be pleasantly surprised and happy with how it does. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the list. And our Disney trivia: what does Jafar disguise himself as to recruit Aladdin into retrieving the magic lamp from the Cave of Wonders? An old man. And I even put the picture on here for you guys. This is the gentleman that does get him and pulls him in there. So if you got that, let me know if you did in the comments. And remember, put your Disney trivia down below. And finally, the Safari Zone 5K. We had so much fun at the 1K. Angel had a great time. I told her, if we have it, if we make it happen, people want more competitive scenes. It's how Lorcana is thriving right now, as we don't have DLCs or worlds. They're coming, I promise. Okay. I got some insider knowledge, and things are coming. Okay. Things are definitely coming. I promise, it's on its way. But in the meantime, we're announcing these events. So shout out. We had the Diet Coke event. We have the CCS. We have the Southside Gaming. We have the Safari Zone Collectibles 5K to look forward to. And doing first place, getting $1,500 in store credit. And that store credit never expires. So you could come to this event, you could win first place, and then you get $1,500 that you could drop on sealed product, right? You could wait and hold on to whatever the next set is, and next thing you know, you order a couple cases, right? $450-ish dollars. So what? You could order 3 cases. You could leave and just buy every enchanted in the store. There's quite a bit, but you could buy most of the enchanteds in the store. I mean, $1,500 store credit. We cannot do cash in Delaware. It's not allowed. It's illegal, but that's still a lot. $700 for second place, still a lot. That's 2 cases. I mean, $500 for third and fourth. That's a case on your own. That is just crazy. I'll put all the descriptions for it in the comments. Ladies and gentlemen, you won't want to miss it, okay? We always try and put on amazing events here. Angel's awesome. I have been a huge push for trying to make it happen. And this is going to be great. It's everything that I've hoped for in our community. Between these big multi-$1,000 events and my kids' free tournament that we host, like, our community is awesome here, and I love it, and it's crazy. So huge shout out to my entire Lorcana community in this area, and huge shout out to everybody that's supported me, because it's through your guys' support that I'm able to host, the giveaways and host the kids tournament for free, so the kiddos can win those enchanteds and everything. I mean, it's awesome. So really, huge shout out to all you guys as well. So thank you. But I'm getting all sappy, so I'll stop doing that. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of the video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you saw some lists, some motivation for the future, and I'm gonna end on this screen because it was great. So shout out to all of you guys. Ladies and gentlemen, remember though, above all else, above everything that's going on, above all your plans, stay happy and healthy, and I'll see you next time. All right.